here to discuss all things NRL and anything sports related. Please give a warm Aussie g'day to the footy fanatic and America's own Corey Jackson in Outside the Sheds.
Greetings and salutations and welcome back to Outside the Sheds Finals Week 1 edition. That's right, Shedheads. Hold on to that. Hold on to that. Hold on to that. And why I say that is because we've done it. We've completed the 2025 regular season, and now we march into the finals. I will say this. This season has blown me away. I'm very, very excited about what's to come here, starting just a matter of a couple of days right now. But I can't get to the goods until we finish the past. That's right. We've got to cover everything. We've got to cover our bases. We've got to make sure the safe is set, that we've got all of our fine jewelry and china inside it. We've got to lock down, and before we can lock down, we've got to close. So let's close it. Let's close it. Round 27. I know you saw this already. The Shedda going 6 for 8. I warm up to the finals right now. I'm bobbing and weaving. Mrs. Shedadamus has helped me on the speed bag right there. We're going. We're flowing right now. It kicked off with a match that I think, this is one of the ones I missed. But Broncos 30, Storm 14. The hoodoo has been put to bed, at least for this week, because the Broncos and Madge finally get over on Bellyache's boys and get a victory, and a big victory at that, because this is a victory seals down their top 4 position. And I'm going to say right now, we've got a team over here in the divided states. I said this before. The Brisbane Broncos are Australia's version of the Dallas Cowboys, minus a crazy owner. That's it. I think how great Brisbane could be if they had a guy that said, fundamentally speaking, I think that the team is looking very, very good this time. No, you don't. You don't look good at all, Dallas. But that's something else. I'll say this right now. Brisbane is drama personified. They've always got something going. If it's not Reece Walsh, getting good 8 ounces of water out of his toilet, you never know what's going to happen. They're an exciting team, no matter if you like them or not. They're headline material. But this time the headlines are good headlines. These are headlines of a club that seems like they're rounding into form. And the crazy thing that's going on with the Brisbane Broncos is they're doing this without their top 2 halves. Benny Hunt has been playing very, 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 very well. I bet if Ben Hunt thought a year or 2 ago that he would be back playing halves in Brisbane, he would have laughed at you. It would have been a dream of his, but he would have never thought that was coming to fruition. And Billy Walters, this guy, I still wish he was back with the Tigers. I think he provides just this energy to a club. He may not be a starter in some people's books, but he has not missed a beat since he stepped into that role as well. I think he's really starting to find out what type of a player he really, really is. And it's really coming to fruition with the Broncos as well. But Walsh getting a double as well again. And now with this new haircut, the longest hair on Reece's body is that caterpillar on his upper lip. And I'm just worrying that might cut off some of the oxygen flow into his body in the finals. Maybe just trim that thing up a little bit. But hey, what am I to say? The guy still is a freak. He's playing incredible footy. And you have to think these last 4 weeks, this month that they've pretty much dominated to get themselves in this position, be in the top 4, it's all because of that guy. Reece Walsh has lived up to, I think, what a lot of people thought that he could be as a player. But I think we are not being fair, because I think a lot of that has to do with the guy is healthy. And I know he walked off the field with a little bit of, I don't know if it was calf tightness or whatever this week in training, but he has been on top of it. He's been playing well. And I don't think you can say anything else besides this team is going forward because of Reece Walsh. Everyone has stepped up when they've needed to, and the Broncos now are a top 4 side. Sea Eagles 27, Warriors 26, DCE finishing off that stellar career on the northern beaches and knocking down the 1-point field goal to actually be the deciding point that gets the victory and sends him out on top and ending his Manly career. It's kind of strange for me to really think the DCE is possibly, I don't think any of us know what he's going to do next season, but by quite possibly, we're never going to see him again in a Manly jersey. And there's some players you just want to see kind of go out as a one-team player, and maybe DCE will. Maybe the Roosters. I mean, that team. I mean, another team out there that might have tricolors. I digress. But possibly, maybe they say we're going in a different direction. We're staying with our young halves, whatever. And DCU does finish his career and never plays for anybody else. I don't think that's going to happen, but it is going to be strange to see him in another jersey. But it was an incredible career. I'm saying it was, 15 years that he has been with the Sea Eagles. But I think it is fitting that his time is coming to an end the same time that Kieran Foran is playing his last game too, because I think those two, no matter if they didn't play their entire careers together, I'm always going to think about those two being the best, since I've watched the game, the best Manly's have combination that I witnessed. So congratulations to DC on an incredible career with the Sea Eagles and a big victory for them to end the season. I think that that's going to keep a little heat off the coaching staff, if you know what I mean. Roosters 36, Rabbitohs 6. The book of feuds really doesn't go into much of a feud. Dominated by the Chooks. The Chooks put them to the sword. They handled the Bunnies. It kind of surprised me because that might have been the strongest South Sydney club we saw all season, and nothing was going to stop the Chooks. Nothing was going to stop the Roosters this week. They looked in fine form. Marky Mark playing incredible footy still. I just see that, again, this team, Robbo, gets this team into the finals. And, does anybody really want to play him? I do think this could be maybe the game of the week one of the finals, them and the Sharks coming head to head. But incredible play by the Roosters. And I just don't know what their ceiling is. And that's why I cannot believe they would mess with this chemistry that's forming with this club by possibly bringing DC in next year's. But they're in the finals. That's all you can say. And with that victory, it kind of made the rest of the weekend kind of a ho-hum thing because no one else really had anything to play for. And that kicked off right after that where the Panthers 40, Dragons 20. A slew of the rested Panthers coming back and were just too much of a juggernaut for the Dragons. You had to feel bad for Flano. I don't know what direction St. George is going to go. I don't, by no means are they going to get rid of Shane Flanagan because they just signed him on an extension. But this team just a month ago looked like were starting to figure things out, and they have just imploded the last few weeks of the season. They look a shell of the club that look like they might be figuring out what Flano needs, what he wants, all that type of stuff. I don't even know what to say. Very, very disappointing end of the season for St. George. But Penrith, looking strong, looking like they're ready. They knew what they had to do. They knew that they weren't going to finish in the top four, so let's rest some guys up. We see what's in front of us. We know that we're the four-time defending premiers. Let's make this happen. So, going to be interesting to see if Ivan's thought process of resting some guys is really going to pay off on the back end here. But big victory by Penrith to march into the finals with a W. Titans 36, Tigers 28, down 28-12 at halftime. The Titans just come alive. I don't know what that halftime speech was by Desi. I wish I had that on a little bit of an 8-track. Some of you might know that, but you record that on 8 tracks. You have it for the tapes. But wow, I got to tell you something. That second half, and I'm not going to say we don't have a dog in the fight because all of us have dogs in the fight. All of us like certain clubs more than other clubs, and I try to keep that below boards when I talk on this show because I think everybody deserves equal representation, and I'm gonna eviscerate anybody who does something wrong, and I'm gonna praise somebody who does something right. But you had to feel good for Kieran Foran that he went out with a victory, and that second half was just crazy. I'm saying, but that's what frustrates everybody about Gold Coast. Why can they put in a second half like that, and they didn't start the game like that? Like Desi didn't have a pump-up speech before they ran out on the field the first time. But then they come back out and for the Tigers, you got to feel sorry for them because they lost 2 big games where they had good leads. I'm saying that North Queensland game, I think they still have a hangover from losing that one a few weeks ago. So, I felt good. I felt good for Kieran Foran after the career that he's had, that he went out on top. I felt good for Desi that he didn't go out a loser with the Titans. And then, you know what? I was happy because I think they're definitely a better team than Newcastle. I was happy they didn't finish with a wooden spoon. Truthfully, I really will say that. But again, frustrating. It just makes you shake your head why that club can't play like that for a full 80 minutes. But good victory and congratulations for getting out of the incredible weight of the entire table being on top of you. Sharks 24, Bulldogs 6. Even though they don't finish in the top 4, I think this was a key victory for the up boys because Cronulla looked like the only team on the field that was getting ready for the finals. And the most exciting thing for the Bulldogs was when Reed Monty ran out of the field, the crowd went crazy. And that's why I don't understand some of the stuff that Cameron Sorrell has done to this guy. I'm saying when you have the greatest hooker in the game's history with Cameron Smith calling for Reed Monty to start. Nothing against Cameron Sorrell, but I'm always going to listen to a guy that's going to be an immortal. And when Cameron Smith says that, there's something about Reed Monty that I think is important. And I think, truthfully, and I'm going to say this, I think all of the switching, the moving parts that the Bulldogs have done this season is going to cost them in the end. I really do feel that way. I think this is a team right now that's put a lot of pressure now on a 20-year-old kid, 20-year-old young man, whatever you want to say. And Lockie is handling the best he possibly can. But I don't know. Gus Gould has put so much pressure on him by saying he's the greatest teenager I've ever seen in the game, or whatever he said. I think all of us know. But it's put so much pressure on him for him to carry that type of weight the way that he has. I don't want to say that he's going to crumble, but he just, he doesn't look like anything special out there, and the results are showing. They have a losing record since Lachlan Galvin has come into the side. So, again, you're looking at both sides of the glass, whatever you want to say. One team looked like they're ready for the finals. One team looked like they're once again doing the transformers and moving parts around to see if they can form into the perfect vehicle or whatever the heck they're trying to do. But big victory for the Sharks. And they do it without Tricky too, because Trindle wasn't in. I think that's gonna be good for them going forward. And I think it was the perfect victory for them to have to take on the Roosters here this coming weekend. Dolphins 62, Raiders 24. That score right there by the Finns is why a lot of people were upset that they're not going to see them in the finals. I'm saying they led in every offensive category almost for being the most exciting, try-inducing club in the 17, and you're not going to see them in the finals. Now, I'll tell you something right now. I wouldn't hold your breath next year because that team, I think, is going to be one of the teams that is going to be on the ascension. But you also have to look on the other side of the coin here with the Raiders. They're resting 10 guys. They know that they don't have anything to play for here. They just want to get through this game without any type of injury because they're thinking about week 1 of the finals. But the Dolphins are a fun team to watch. I'm saying the Hammer looking like just the freak that he is, getting the treble, getting the 3 tries. Just fun player to watch. But yeah, great victory for the Dolphins. Great way to finish the season. A lot of building points that Christian Wolf is going to do with this club. And I think, again, they are going to be a dangerous club in 2026. Eels 66, Knights 10. Behind the Foxes treble. Let me tell you something about Josh Adokar. If Josh Adokar does not make it exciting for you to watch the game of rugby league, I don't know what's wrong with you. Because the Fox is one of my favorite players to watch. The energy that he brings, the celebration that he has after tries, the gregarious nature that he has. He's just one of those guys. When I met him, he was the exact same way. Like, he got excited when I told him I remember him playing for the Tigers. He got excited about that. Like, he just has a way, and if you listen to players talk about who've played with Josh Adokar, they always say the same thing, that the Fox he takes a lot of the pressure off everybody because he makes everything light. He's funny, but when you go out on the field, he's one of the hardest playing guys out there. He's got more tape on him than a mummy. If I'm saying, I was looking at him on an interview, like all of his fingers are taped together. I don't even know how he holds the ball almost. But Mitchell Moses' return has to have the blue and gold army feeling very, very strong going into 2026 because they have looked elite lately. And then I guess as much celebration as we're doing about the Eels, you have to talk about the Newcastle Knights. Besides Dane Gagai, did anybody else really show up and look like they wanted to win that game? And and that's one of the reasons I love Dane Gagai so much, is because that guy, no matter what the score is giving you everything that he has in the tank. But it's a sad way for Adam O'Brien to go out because, the guy had got Newcastle off the bottom of the table, right? And now he's leaving and they're back on the bottom of the table. So I feel bad for Adam O'Brien because I know he's been through a lot the last couple of seasons. And really, can you really say any of this is his fault this year? I'm saying they've had so many injuries at Newcastle. They've never got the halves combination to work the way they've needed it to. I am surprised they never really would play Jackson Hastings. I don't know what the guy did to be in the doghouse that much. But when I watched the halves play for the rest of the players there, no one else impressed me. So I don't know how you don't bring Jackson Hastings in. And but those type of decisions, they just never could get out from underneath them. And that's why they finished the way they can. But like I said, if you're an Eels fan, yes, Dom, calm down. Mills, I know. But that club is really, really looking strong for 2026. Well, Shedheads, it's a wrap. 2025, the NRL season, it's in the books. Put it away. Put it in your bank. I don't know, invest it. I don't know what you're going to do with it, but it is over. We have our 8 teams that are going to be in the finals. And the crazy thing about that is 4 of those clubs, Your Shedadamus saw live in Vegas. So I saw 50% of the clubs that are in the finals to kick off the season. So I guess you can't say that trip to the Divided States really was that much of a weight on these players coming back because, all of these clubs are here at the end of the season. So again, that's how it is. But I'm going to say something. When I think about 2025, I'm thinking about 2 clubs. And these 2 clubs really disappointed me because they underachieved. And I think all of us were expecting so much more from 2 of these clubs that we just didn't get. And, it's a long season. I know that. But when you look at the roster for these 2 clubs and you see that they did not make it to the finals, it really has you scratching your head. And the first club is the North Queensland Cowboys. I don't care how much of a fan of Todd Payton that I am and the brand of footy that they can sometimes play, but they just couldn't get the car in gear all season. And it really shocked me because if you think the last couple of seasons, they've just been so up and down. And you remember that season that Todd Payton had them just rolling through and they got the finals. He won the Coach of the Year and all that stuff. They just have not been able to capture that same type of magic again. One lucky thing for Todd is they got hot towards the end of the season. That probably saved his job. But this team was pathetic. I wrote down some numbers here. They led the competition in errors with 316 and were only behind the Knights and the Bunnies for ineffective tackles with 421. Their defense was atrocious all season. And I don't care how great your attack can be, you've got to play defense. And the funny thing about it is that's a saying in America, that's a saying in, well, I don't know about the EPL, but that's a saying in, Australia, New Zealand. Defense wins championships. And if you can't play any type of defense, you're not going anywhere. You're just not. And there was just some horrible games where you watched that I was like, I don't know if they could stop anything. But that is why they were in the position they were in. They just could not play defense. And it kind of shocked you because that's what that season that Todd Payton got them to the finals. That's what they were known for. They were just so strong in their defense, and they defended for each other, and that has gone by the wayside. And like I said, he's just lucky they finished the season strong, because he could be it could be 3 coaches on the chop block instead of just 2 at this current juncture. So North Queensland was very, very disappointing for me. But I am excited to see them in Vegas here in a few months. My other team was Manly. And I don't know, now thinking back now about my 15 years in the game, but thinking back, I don't know if I remember a team that was so beloved and projected to be a club that could definitely be in the top 4 to start the season that just could not get it together. And I looked at something, and I think all of us know, and we probably all feel we know what the culprit was for the downfall for the Seagulls this season. And unfortunately, that was their captain at the time, Daly Cherry Evans. Because on March 24th, DC made the announcement that he was not going to be with Manly after this season. At that point in the season, they were 2-1. After he made the announcement, the club went 10-11. And if you look at the way that went, they'd win 1, lose 2 or 3. Win 1, and it just, they could never get into stride. And it's crazy I just used that term, get into stride, because the one guy you think as a strider, somebody who can just open it up for Manly, is Turbo, Tom Trbojevic, right? And I think Turbo's season is kind of a microcosm of what Manly's season was. It was just, Tom just seems like he hasn't been able to really stretch it out. He hasn't seemed like he's felt comfortable just streaking down the field. It got so much so he was kind of injured. Then they put him in the centers for a little bit. Now he's made it back to the fullback position, and they've kind of stabilized at the end of the season, right? And so is Tom. I think this is the most comfortable we've seen Tom Trbojevic, or Turbo, whatever you want to call him, in the fullback position for quite a long time. But you still get that feeling when you watch Turbo catch the ball or really take off on a run. You're always kind of wincing that you're waiting to see him go down bad in a tackle or pull a hammy, or he's got that player that almost feels like he's got a little bit of a curse over his head, that you're just waiting for the next domino to fall for bad news or for a bad result. And that's kind of what Manly's been like. They just kind of felt like a team that has kind of had a little bit of a cloud over them, that they just can't seem to get out from underneath it. And sure, there were some injuries at Manly. I'm saying Jake didn't finish the season, and everybody knows how important Jake is to that club. And if anything, it's just for the energy that he brings back for the club and into the sheds and all that. But they were just too erratic. And you wonder, did the drama, which we know, when your captain says that he's leaving the club the way that he did on national television and kind of makes a point of it, and then thinks that you're going to come back in there and all the boys are just going to go, oh, I understand DC. No, it's not how it's going to ever be. So, no matter how you want to say it, it was a disappointing season. And for them, okay, sure, they didn't make the top 4, but not to make the top 8 at all and to be out of finals again, not good at all for Manly, and very, very disappointing if you're a fan, because, I sat with the Manly fans. That's kind of where my seats were at when I was at the 2013 Grand Final. And, if any of you have been in the stadium with them, they are a loud, vocal bunch of people. They're proud of their club. They don't care if you don't like them. What is it? Manly hates you too. I think the guy had a sign next to me. So they have no problem getting into you a little bit. But it's sad to see a club that has such rich tradition and history again not be able to find the groove to get into the finals again. So we'll have to see, what 2026 has in store for them. We know they've got some big players that are coming in, but again, 2025 not ending the way a lot of people projected for the Manly Seagulls. Now, in 2026, I have 3 teams that I think are the teams to watch going forward, that I think we're really going to push to get into that top 8. The Eels, I think if Mitchell Moses is healthy, that they are going to be a team that is really going to be on the rise. The Dolphins, I think, man, they're going to be a team that could do some real danger next season. I really think that Christian Wolf, with his second season at the helm at that club, and after I watched how he coached in the Super League, they are going to be something special next year. I'm telling you right now, the Dolphins are going to be that team that everyone's going wow about. They've got their halfback in Asako. They are ready to really, really get some scalps, as I always say. And that other team, I really feel this. The West Tigers. I think the West Tigers are getting what Benji's trying to get through to them. I know that these 2 out of the 3 games of the season, their defense really let them down in the second half. And like I said, I don't think people will forget for a long time that collapse at Leichhardt when they let the Cowboys back in to score when everybody was really truthfully celebrating the crowd. But I think with some of the additions that Benji's got coming in, another year with the leadership group that he has in store there, Jerome Luai, I think, is really going to step up and get the character. Appy's still going to be there. I just think that the West Tigers, it could be the time for the drought to end. And it's insane to think how long this club has not been in the finals. It's insane for me. So I think those are my 3 teams that I see going forward really have the best chance of cracking the top 8 next season. Now, as we go into the 40-20, Shedheads, for the first time since I began watching the game, I'll say this again. I really feel that every single one of the 8 teams that made the finals can tell themselves they can win it. And not the time like when you see a team that like, I don't know, if you saw like Manchester United playing Lower East Side London. I don't know. I just made that team up. No matter how much Lower East Side London thinks they're going to win, Manchester United is usually going to beat them. Well, maybe not this season. But what I'm saying is there's just times that you can try to talk till you're blue in the face that we really have a chance, and everybody in the building knows, no, you don't, mate. You don't have a chance. And that's the case here. I don't think that's what's happening. This season, this competition in 2025 has been so non-predictable, unpredictable, whatever predictable you want to say. You just don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what the result's going to be. I've always said this, and you guys have heard me say this, when all the money's going one way, bet the other way, right? And you're going to hit that about 30% of the time. But that's not bad, because when you do hit, you're going to really, really make out, right? That's not the case this time. This year has been insane. Like, you have a chance betting either direction because you just don't know. And when I look at these 8 teams that are in, I really can make a case for every single one of them why they have a really strong chance to win the whole thing. There's only about 2 teams out of the 8 where I'm saying, okay, they really are going to have to go on a magical run to make it there to the finals and possibly win it. But they still have a chance because they played incredible footy at certain points during this season. Now, the finals start tomorrow, I guess you can say. I'm all thrown off when you hear me hesitate when I say tomorrow, because it's not really my tomorrow. Shedheads, it's a little bit farther than that because I'm, where I'm at. I'm over here in the bunker here in the Divided. But it starts off with the Storm and the Bulldogs in Melbourne. I'm going to say this right off the bat. The Bulldogs are one of those clubs that I'm saying, I don't think they can do this. And the reason I can't is because they've looked so bad at certain times. They just haven't been able to really kick into groove with Lachlan Galvin since he's come into the side. But they at one time were on top of the competition. So they know how to do it. But let's be honest right now. They're going to have to learn to walk again in Melbourne against a bellyache side that has looked bad 2 weeks in a row. Against a bellyache side that's getting back Harry Grant. Yes, they're losing Jerome Hughes, who's going to be out. Pappenhausen's out with his concussion. But everybody knows Harry Grant is a major card for that team. Because no matter who they play in the halves with money, they're going to be solid because Harry Grant's right there. So, yes, that's 2 big losses. Hughes, Pappenhausen, for sure. Not taking anything away from them. Big Nelson, he's out too. But what I'm saying is, with Harry Grant, you've got your field general there. You've got the guy that will steady the ship. You got the guy that just for whatever reason, you just get that feeling that he knows something no one else knows when the game is going on. And the game is in Melbourne. It's at night. It's tough for me to think that the Storm are going to lose 3 games in a row, no matter who's missing. And then you look at the Bulldogs. Again, like I said, they're going to be without Bronson Sherry, Marcelo Montoya. Great podcast, by the way, Marcelo. Great podcast. You and your wife are magic. But he's out. And then Cameron Serrallo does this, and I don't know. Shedheads, you never see the big clubs, and I'm not saying the Bulldogs are not a big club, but you do not see the coaches bellyache. Trent Robinson, coaches like that. You don't see these guys that just get it. Oh, Ivan Cleary. You don't see them juggling their lineups like this. And then when news came out that he was axing Reed Monty, and I just said this a few minutes ago, Cameron Smith said that he would be starting Reed Monty every day of the week in the hooker position. And to axe him after he just gave you 3 strong years, and to pretty much cast him out like he hadn't done anything for the side. And then you bring back Toby Sexton into the fold, who you haven't let out of the freaking basement for weeks now. I just don't know what Cameron Serraldo's doing. I don't know if it's really his decisions that are coming down, why the stuff is going down like this, but it just makes me scratch my head because it makes no sense to me. And that to me is the reason why Melbourne it's tough for me to think that they can't pull this one off. Saturday we get a doubleheader. First up we get the Panthers versus the Waz at the Rumble Islands. You got to just wonder how much inside information the great Jet Cleary is making about Nathan Cleary. Is he giving away family secrets to the Waz? Do we have a reason? Do we have to have an investigation? As the great Stephen A. Smith would say, do we have to have an investigation that Jet Cleary is giving away the Penrith Panthers secrets? I don't know. I'm kind of making a joke about that. But Jet is in the camp of the Waz. He still is a member of the Cleary family. And he knows Penrith because he's been around him before he went to the Waz, all that stuff, right? I don't think that's going to make that much of a difference, Shedheads. I don't. I think that Jet could probably talk till he's blue in the face. But when you got the Panthers and you got Brian Tyler and Lee Martin coming back, I think the reigning premiers are going to feel quite confident. They're back in they're back in their strike zone, if you know what I mean. They're in the finals. This team, after round 12, is in last place. They're in the finals, right? They know what they have to do to win this whole thing. And they can do it. By every means, they can do it. So, you got to feel good about their chances. You got to think that they're healthy, and maybe the most healthy a Penrith club has been from top to bottom. I know Kenny is out with that hamstring situation, but really, if you look at this side from top to bottom, it's the most healthy Penrith has been at this point in the finals. Now, for the Waz, you hear that Wade Egan's going to be back, and you know how key he is to their attack coming out of that dummy half position. But the question is, how long is Wade Egan going to be on the field? And I know that he's a fun and a good player, and he really gets their offense to move. But he's getting to the point now where he gets brushed and he gets an HIA. And that's really, really sad because you know when players start to get, head injuries, you never want to mess around there. But the crazy thing for Wade, it's his shoulder that's been the thing that's been the problem right now recently and why he's being rested. Had been rested. But I just don't know how long he can be on the field. And I think if he leaves or if something happens and Wade can't finish the game, they're really in a great deal of trouble. But I think it's going to be an exciting game. I just feel that one side definitely has the upper hand there. And then the nightcap, or the sunriser, if you live over here in the divided states. The Roosters versus the Sharks at Shark Park. To me, the hardest game of the 4 to pick for this weekend. At least for the Sharks, you hear that Braden Tricky's going to be back. So you got to feel that the Habs are doing well for them now. They've got their combination back in place. They're a pretty healthy club. So they feel good. You'd have to say they look good. And then you have to look on the other side. And the Roosters, when I say that the Panthers look strong because of them being healthy, the Chooks look really good. They're looking pretty shiny if you know if you know what I'm talking about. If you're talking automobiles, they're looking good coming into the finals. But I think this game comes down to two things. One, can the Sharks control the middle of the field? Can their bigs continue to roll and dominate in the middle? And two, can the Roosters' dynamic playmakers, Marky Mark, Sam Walker, and the ageless one, Daniel Tupou, can they be contained? Because when Sammy Walker, when Hollywood kicks to the corners and you got two guys that are high flyers that just dominate the air, like Marky Mark and Daniel Tupou do, it's going to be tough. It's going to be very, very tough for the Sharks. And that's what it's going to come down to. Who's of those two factors that I just say are going to come out on top in that situation. So, going to be a fun match to watch, and I can't wait for that game. It's going to be great. And then finally, to close it out, we go down to the nation's capital. We've got the Broncos, the Dallas Cowboys, as you would say, of the NRL, against the minor premiers. The Canberra Raiders, the Baby Greens, the Green Machine. I can't wait to see the Viking up there hitting his drum, who I actually saw in Vegas, by the way. I couldn't believe I was standing next to him. Kind of a smaller guy. Really cool, though. But finally, going back to the Milk Mafia. Going to be down in the nation's capital. You couldn't ask for a better matchup. You couldn't ask for a better setting, because you know the Raiders are going to leave it all on the field. You got to wonder, because they're going to need him. If Big Papa, if that ankle can hold together, can they get him shot up or taped up or whatever it needs to be, and that he can be effective for the Raiders? Because they're going to need him to match up size-wise with the Broncos. Papa's going to have to play, and he's going to have to play well. But it's going to come down to it. Some people feel the ineffectiveness of, or how should I say this? That's not the word I'm looking for. I apologize. The youth and the inexperience of the Raiders, will that come into a factor in this game? And for me, I don't think it's coming to it all. I'm saying this Raiders club all season has shown that they can step up to the big moments. They can play in any condition. So I don't think that's going to be a problem at all. And then you just have to wonder, for me, I guess the wild card, the ace in the deck for both teams is Reece Walsh. Because if Reece Walsh plays the brand of footy that he's been playing for the last 4 weeks of the competition, if Reece Walsh is dialed in, if Reece Walsh can get on the front foot, attack the corners, and just kind of open up the play, they're going to be a tough team to beat. Even in the nation's capital, the Broncos are going to be tough to beat if Reece Walsh plays that way. And that's what an X factor is, Shedheads. That is what an X factor is. A guy, no matter how well either team is playing, if he flips the switch, he can do magical things. Now, we've been watching, and I'm going to say something. I'm not putting pressure. Willow, don't get mad at me. I'm not putting pressure on the Raiders. But you guys have an X factor too. Because Ethan Strange, to me, is becoming that. He's becoming a dude. All right? He's becoming a dude. And over here in the sports world in the Divided States, when someone's the dude, he's not Lebowski, first off. He is the guy. He is the X factor. He's the guy that people look at. He's the guy that, he may not be the fastest guy on the field, may not be the prettiest guy on the field, but he is that guy on the field, if you know what I mean. And he's becoming that. Ethan Strange is becoming that guy. And to me, that's what makes this game so dynamic. You don't know, because the Baby Greens are so fresh, who could be the rock star, who could be the guy that steps up. And this team has that ability where it might not be Ethan Strange at all. It could be one of the other young guys that all of a sudden just takes the game under his wing and away you go. So to me, this game is the one that could probably be the most exciting game of the weekend. I think the hardest game to pick, like I said, is the Sharks and the Raiders. But this game, you really just don't know, because those X factors, what are they going to do? to bring this. Listen, Shedheads, the only thing I can say right now is you better have extra popcorn. I actually have jalapeno butter popcorn that I'm waiting to break out for these things. That's right. I've got special popcorn that I'm going to break out for the finals this weekend. That's how excited I am. Now, here we go. We got to do the picks. Finals week 1, Friday, Bulldogs versus the Storm. I hinted at it. I'm going to finalize it. I'm going with the Storm over the Dogs. Saturday with that doubleheader, Panthers versus the Waz. I'm going to pick the reigning premiers until the reigning premiers can't be picked. Penrith gets the victory in the Rumble Islands. And then to close out Super Saturday, Roosters versus the Sharks. I know Cronulla's played well, but the problem for me with Cronulla is they've been a little up and down all season, and the Roosters to me are just finding themselves and just rearing into form. I'm going with the Chooks to get the victory at Shark Park. Sunday, Broncos versus the Raiders. Again, like I said, this game is going to be really, really fun because which one of these dynamic young playmakers is going to really step up? I'm going with the Raiders. I'm going with the Baby Greens. I've told people that they've been real all season, and I'm staying with it. I think they get a major victory, and they get the victory and make a lot of milk drank down in the nation's capital. So I've got the Storm, the Panthers, the Roosters, and the Raiders. And my gun of the round, and Shedheads, please take a second here. We have a defending back-to-back champion because Marky Mark, Nawakaniza, I butchered it, I know, but I went for it. Marky Mark is the gun of the round 2 weeks in a row, 3 tries, 145 running meters, 2 line breaks, 1 line break assist, 8 tackle breaks, 5 tackles made. Excuse me, the guy was on fire. And he's an X factor, and he's the reason why I feel the Wings for the Roosters could be dominant all finals round long. Wow, I'm losing it. I've got to tell you, so Marky Mark, back-to-back champ. Shedheads, I hope you're ready for this finals. I'm beyond excited myself. I think these picks are going to go through. But no matter what happens, it is going to be so fun to watch because I think all these teams are going to bring it. And I can't wait for it to start. But until next week, Shedheads, stay out of trouble. Don't get caught, or hawked. This has been Outside the Sheds. I'm Corey Jackson. See ya!
And that was another fantastic episode of Outside the Sheds with Corey Jackson, talking all things NRL and all things sports. So please remember to smash the subscribe button and share this with your family and friends and show them what Australian sport is all about.